So I first learned about TMS when I was actually in the hospital. So before I became depressed, I was a mom, still am, but I was a real go-getter type personality. I graduated from law school near the top of my class, summa cum laude, and I was practicing as an attorney and working at one of the top law firms in the state, where I took on really major cases for big clients. I was heavily involved in my local community and with my children. We would go explore the city together and try all sorts of new things. I was always looking for something fun to do, our next big adventure. Then once the depression hit, it was like that light just went out for me, and it didn't happen all at once. It was a gradual process, and I could feel that was all slipping away as the depression worsened, and I couldn't get better. I was trying everything that I could, frantically trying to hold on to something that was just slipping through my fingers. And instead of getting better, month after month, it just was worse. And I knew that just laying in bed and not dealing with this was literally costing me that life that I had worked so hard to build. And yet I couldn't bring myself to care enough to get up and do anything about it. Even when I knew if I could just do X, then things would be better and I would not be in this bad position, I just couldn't do it. I was aware of what steps I needed to take, but it was like the ability to motivate had just completely left me. While I was there, that I met a neurologist who went over my background with me. He could tell that I was already on the max dose of one of the best antidepressants that is out there today. And he looked at me and said, "Have you considered TMS?" And I said, "I don't know what that is." And he said, "Well, one professional to another, because I imagine that you're somebody who worked really hard to get to where you are, and that you are the kind of person who has a lot going for her in life. If I were in your shoes, if I were experiencing the kind of depression that you've been dealing with, that is what I would do for me, and that's what I would recommend to my family." And that really resonated with me because I could tell that this was something he thought genuinely would be helpful. So going into these treatments, I really didn't know what to expect. From what I'd read online, it looked like this super high-tech space helmet type situation, and I was really nervous about it the first time. I didn't need to be, but it's really hard to find more information about what it looks like to undergo TMS. The person that I worked with at these appointments was a phenomenal technician, and she made me feel like she really cared about me as a person, and that was a difference maker. It made it so that I had a reason that I wanted to keep showing up for these treatments. By the time I finished my course of treatment, and I know it's not like this for every single person who completes TMS, but for me, I was able to go completely off of my medication. That was such an amazing game changer. And the idea of opening up a clinic where other people could get that same kind of treatment, where we could make it more accessible to people by having it at a location that was not going to be such a huge drive for people to commit to, and hopefully to keep it accessible enough that there wouldn't be such a long wait for patients, was something that I really wanted to do. When my wife and I were looking into different options, we found Zion. And one of the things that we loved about them is that, like me, many of the Zion founders have had experiences of their own with different mental health issues. So they really approach this from a place of compassion. It's about seeing the patients as people and seeing them as people who want to get better. I think that's something that I can bring as somebody who has gone through that, is I can help patients who might be a little bit nervous about this understand that it's not an intimidating, scary process. I can also speak to the patients who are feeling a little bit discouraged and skeptical, and is this really something that could help me feel better? And from my experience, yeah, it was a game changer. It saved my life, but I get why, if you've gone through so many different kinds of medications, it feels like this is just yet another thing that's not going to make me feel better. So I do think that experience really gives me the ability to relate to our patients. It was really important to me that we build a clinic where people could come and feel welcome, where they would feel like they had a reason to show up for the 7 weeks that they have to commit to treatments. We advocate for our patients to get these special case agreements for patients who really, really need this treatment, to make sure that they're able to get that, so that when people come into our door, they are coming to get better. It's not Zion Treating Center, it's Zion Healing Center, and that's what we try to be.